What did Henry Kissinger do that made people hate him so much? He basically said, "Kill everyone in Cambodia," then got a Nobel Peace Prize later. In addition to carpet bombings, he was also involved in the much more subtle but just as deleterious overthrow of President Salvador Allende and the Pinochet dictatorship. In addition to his carpet bombing of civilians in Laos and Cambodia, he was the architect who helped empower a host of brutal dictators and genocides around the world: East Timor, Pinochet, Bangladesh, Angola, the continuation of South African apartheid, General Videla, and Uruguay. It is almost impossible to overstate the amount of suffering this one man is responsible for laying on the most vulnerable people on Earth. Literally. Just Google Kissinger plus your choice of less than Latin America, Asia, Africa, Indonesia, Bangladesh and prepare to rage. He was an actual living comic book villain who dedicated his life to making life much worse for those who were already destitute around the world. Anthony Bourdain on Kissinger. Once you've been to Cambodia, you'll never stop wanting to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands. You will never again be able to open a newspaper and read about that treacherous, prevaricating, murderous scumbag sitting down for a nice chat with Charlie Rose or attending some black tie affair for a new glossy magazine without choking. Witness what Henry did in Cambodia, the fruits of his genius for statesmanship, and you will never understand why he's not sitting in the dock at The Hague next to Milosevic. Besides the other things mentioned, he sabotaged peace talks in order to prolong the Vietnam War because it gave Nixon an electoral advantage. https en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/Anna Chenault. Here's a good honest obituary of the war criminal. https www.rollingstone.com/politics/politicnews/Henry Kissinger War Criminal Dead 12348044748/amp/ He's a war criminal who enabled countless other war criminals through several decades. We'll likely never know the true amount of victims that directly or indirectly came from his meddling around the world. Waged secret, illegal carpet bombing of a country we were not at war with. He extended the war in Nam to let Nixon win by sabotaging peace negations. Like every war crime, LMAO. Enjoy going down that rabbit hole. It's a fun list. Edit. Realized this wasn't helpful. The big one was ordering the bombing of hundreds of thousands of unarmed non-combatants in Cambodia and the surrounding area. There's a Christopher Hitchens book detailing all of the things he did though. Allowing political greed to completely stomp all over millions of people. One of handful of people I have reserved a bottle champagne for celebrating upon their demise. He was involved in a coup in Chile that brought Pinochet to power, overthrowing a democratically elected left-leaning government. Pinochet killed many political opponents in Chile by having them thrown out of airplanes over the ocean. He was ultimately prosecuted by Spain for his crimes. He purposely sabotaged Vietnam peace talks. Ending the war would have made Nixon lose his campaign, which therefore meant he would have been without a job. The war took another 7 years to end, costed millions of Vietnamese their lives, thousands of US military servicemen and women, not to mention long-term PTSD effects. And get this, LMFAO, this is where it gets real ironic. He ended up winning the Nobel Peace Prize for creating a truce between North and South Vietnam and ending the war. Here's an article chock full of links to other articles. https TheIntercept.com/2023/11/29/Henry Kissinger death/. Someone once described him as the Forrest Gump of war crimes, and honestly it's not far off. For about 30 years, you name it, he was probably involved somehow. Basically, if the US did something shady in a foreign country which resulted in uncountable civilian deaths at any time between the 70s and the present day, it's a very safe bet that it was either his idea or the result of a domino he deliberately knocked over. It's not crime when it's war crime. War criminal responsible for literally millions of deaths. Cambodian genocide. Implementation of several genocidal far-right fascist dictatorship in Latin America in order to keep them under U.S. control. He is the man behind the almost 100-year-long embargo on Cuba. He is also the man responsible for Operation Barrel Roll, where over 2 billion bombs were dropped on Laos to intimidate Vietnam. He is the man behind GLADIOS, a CIA stay-behind operation that used far-right nationalists to attack allied governments like France, Italy and Belgium. France actually left NATO because of Gladius, and the only reason we even know it existed is because one of the terrorists was caught and brought to trial, and the CIA claimed he was of critical importance to them via an Italian lawyer. What else? Oh, yeah. He inspired Zbigniew and his creation of the Mujahedin, you know them as ISIS or the Islamic State, to overthrow pro-Soviet Afghanistan, and he also threatened Portugal he'd destroy the country if they didn't stop wanting to overthrow their fascist regime. Overall, one of the worst people that have walked the earth. And Hitler walked this earth.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.